And we
And
are
we are
live.
live.
It's official.
Lovely. Welcome everyone. We already have 8 people joining the early kind of like joiners. So thanks for being there. Welcome. And yeah, we are happy to have you. And we have a really interesting session today. A lovely guest that we will introduce just in a few minutes. But this is the first time that you're joining us, so the format of the session today is a Q&A rapid fire session. So we'll have a guest that will talk about certain topics, but you have the chance to actually ask all the questions during those topics, which is great. So let me introduce myself. My name is Ignacio. I'm part of the Kiflo team. I'll be your host today. And I have today Tom. So Tom is also part of the Kiflo team. He'll be moderating everything related to the chat and the format of the session today. And in a minute, again, I will introduce you to Eleanor, our guest today. Okay, but in the meantime, I know that probably you're from all over the world. So let us know where you're kind of like logging in today. If you're from Spain, let us know if everything's okay and you have power. Assumingly, yes, because you are connected. But jokes aside, just let us know where you're from. And again, I encourage you to ask all the questions that you have because this is the magic of being live today. You can join us and you can ask all the questions that you want.
Oop, Ignacio froze. Hope he's coming back soon and his power is not off. Okay, he's
I've got
back.
power. I've got power. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, he's back. You're back. Good.
Alex has
Alex
power
has
in Portugal, which is great.
nice. We're happy.
Beautiful. Nice. Okay, so let's give a couple. We already have like 15 people connected, so let's give just 1 minute more, and then we'll introduce Eleanor, and we'll go straight into the topics. Eva, love you, Eva. Thanks for joining, also from Portugal and back to real life. So great. Um, Tom, any thoughts before we kick it off?
Um, Not really. I just encourage again people to, if they have a question, this is their time. We have the expert here, so they should take advantage and just ask their questions.
Perfect. Okay, so we already have like 15. So I think that we'll kick it off because we have a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
If you're joining live, that's great. If not, you're watching the recording. Everyone will receive the recording. So, of course, you can also see everything there as well. Okay. Well, today we have Eleanor Thompson. Eleanor, welcome, and thanks for joining today. Let me give you a little bit of background from Eleanor. So, Eleanor has more than 10 years of experience in partnerships or even more, and she has generated over 50 million in partner driven ARR, which is amazing. And Eleanor is the founder of Branchworks, and I think that Eleanor, what she told us is she actually founded Branchworks to help companies kind of like navigate partnerships, kind of like landscape. So, Eleanor, it's a pleasure to have you today. We are super excited for the topic today, but also to learn from you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
A pleasure, a pleasure. Well, today's topic is something that a lot of companies are actually leveraging, and it's kind of like, well, fractional leadership, but applied for partnerships, and it's how you unlock those strategic growth with the fractional support. Okay, so that's what we are talking about today. And before we jump into the first topic, we have a poll for you guys so that you can tell us what do you actually understand about fractional partnerships. Okay, so what comes to your mind when you hear fractional leadership? And this could be a cost-effective alternative to hiring, which is valid, access to talent on demand. Not sure, you've never heard of it, or it's just a buzzword with no clear meaning. So let us know there. We'll give you a few minutes so that you can actually reply or take the poll. So it seems like access to talent, which makes sense. Let's give 1 minute for the answers there.
Come on,
And
guys,
we
don't be
can
shy. You can vote.
just
And
welcome from you're from Washington D.C. Lovely. Jessica
yeah, we
also
have
from D.C.
Lorenzo from Italy.
Lorenzo
Ciao,
from Italy.
Lorenzo.
Tom loves Italy, by the way.
I adore
Italia,
Italy. It's
it's your
amazing.
place. You're actually drinking an espresso right now, or
Of course,
yeah.
you have to keep that Italian spirit alive.
Love it, love it. Okay, so no more answers. So it seems like
It
access
seems
to experience
straightforward.
and on demand seems to be the what anyone oh, more, yeah, pretty much everyone understands that that's what you get from partnership, from fractional leadership. Okay, and some think that it's a cost-effective alternative to hiring, so that's perfect. Cool. So let's jump into the first topic. Tom,
Yes. Sorry, I was replying to a comment. I'm about to stop the poll
take it easy. You're
and
the
get it off
moderator,
from
so take
here.
it
Yep.
easy.
And ready to jump into the first.
Beautiful. Okay, so this is kind of like the main topic or subtopic, which is what is fractional leadership and how it is different from traditional consulting. So all yours, Eleanor.
Thank you very much. So the way that I typically describe this is like consulting is like it's like building the engine of a car and fractional is driving it. I think that, when I think about the offerings that we have within Branchworks, we have consulting and we have fractional as two separate offerings. The consulting is where we go in and we really take a really consultative approach as to what's working, what isn't working, what do you actually need to really set up your foundation to really get you moving. And then fractional comes in and executes against that. For me, fractional doesn't work without the initial consulting piece and actually building a solid foundation. So that's how I differentiate the two.
Love that love the analogy as well. So I think that that's key, and I think that I mean, maybe we can ask the audience what if that's something that they had in mind. Please put it again. I will encourage you to all ask the questions today with Eleanor in the chat. But I love the analogy. Yeah, like building versus driving the car. I think that you nailed it there, Eleanor, with that analogy. So let's jump. If you don't have any more questions on this, let's jump on the second subtopic. So, Tom, all yours,
Mhm.
which is this one is really important. When is the right time for a company to bring in a fractional partnership professional versus full-time hire? So, again, all yours, Eleanor, the floor.
Yes. So it's a difficult question to answer like straight. It's not going to be one answer for everyone. But I think if you are starting your partnerships journey, you are knowing that it's going to be of benefit to your organization, but you possibly haven't got it quite moving yet. You haven't got it generating as much revenue as you'd like yet. Maybe you've got a salesperson or a customer success person or even the CEO that's doing a bit of partnerships. The next stage is then a perfect opportunity to bring in, a fractional person, some consulting first to set up your foundation, and then a fractional person. And then you move on to full time. It's like kind of like a phased approach. If you go straight into full time hire, unless you've got a lot of money to spend for them to actually build the foundation for you to get it all set up, get it all running, then I think it's a really great opportunity to have that kind of phased approach. So once you've got some customers that are paying customers, you've got product market fit, you've taken an interest in partnerships, and you know that it's something that is a focus to you, then actually bringing consulting and fractional in is a great opportunity before going straight to a full-time hire. It kind of proves out the case that partnerships are beneficial and get some revenue moving before you then invest in an expensive hire.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I have a follow-up for you on that, Eleanor. What typically from your experience of your clients, what type of companies or sizes of companies do you see that they kind of like leverage the most of this model?
Yeah, so I think I typically start working with companies between 25 and 50 people within the organization. Sometimes they wait a lot longer. It really depends on the style of the organization, but I don't work with companies until they've got 3 salespeople. I'd say that's typically a good point to work with organizations. Like I said, product market fit, a few salespeople, they've got paying customers, they know what's working, they know what doesn't work, they've got some case studies, use cases already. without all of that, it's actually difficult to make partnerships work. Like if you're bringing partnerships in before you've got any paying customers or anything like that, it's actually quite difficult to make things work. So I've started with companies a lot later before, some companies I go in way later because they are late to the partnerships game. Not a problem. But there's just a little bit more work to do there internally.
Love it. And one last one before we jump into the other topic. Typically, who's kind of like I would say, the person that needs convincing in order to get the approval to bring in a fractional partnerships leader?
Depends on the size of the company, but either CEO, CRO, VP of revenue, that kind of piece.
Yeah,
Normally, partnerships all sit within revenue. So
within the CRO, then it would be kind of like the one, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Tom, I think that
We
we've got a
have,
question from
the
Chas,
first question from Chas. Yeah, thank you, Chas. So consulting piece first helps to set the tone for what to expect later, but that said, what and when are expectations set?
I feel like we've got this question lined up already. So this is actually great that we're jumping into this early. So what expectations are set is a really good question, because I typically don't go into any engagements without setting expectations. Yes, consulting piece first really sets the tone, sets the foundation. You're absolutely right on that. And then I propose the fractional piece in the same way as I propose the consulting piece. Like when I go into organizations, I will set out a proposal with clear deliverables, what we want to achieve together based on their goals as an organization. So I do that for the consulting piece. And then I do the same again for the fractional piece, even though it might be, a little bit of a longer process. We might be working together on a longer engagement. I still want to sit down with the customer and say, what are your goals? What are we working towards? What are the things that we need to achieve together within a certain period of time in order to show the value of this back to your organization and set that expectation as well. Then you want to think about communication with the client as well. What does that look like on an ongoing basis? And who you are going to be working with it within the organization, what you're doing versus what they're doing. That's another thing for fractional, especially because in some cases you're going to manage the relationships directly with partners. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're going to work with people internally. You're going to be more of a leadership of a team. So there's lots to discuss there with the organization, dependent on the size and your particular role. But I would never just come in on a really long engagement on, I'm going to work with you for 2 days a week and let's see how it goes. No, we're going to set the expectation up first as to what we want to achieve together and what the outcomes are going to be.
That was a great answer. And also, Chas, thanks for the question, because I think that it set it up really well. I have a follow-up on that one, Eleanor. Typically, from your experience, what's the minimum time that you need in order to see results, like with a fractional kind of like engagement?
6 months.
I love because you went straight to 6 months, not less than that.
I could like scale this. No, 6 months minimum, especially with partnerships. With other fractional roles, if you were to bring in a fractional role for another part of the organization, then they could probably have an impact a lot quicker. It's not to say that partnerships won't have an impact in the first few months. They absolutely can. But in order to get them generating revenue and actually meeting the goals of the business, 6 months.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree on that. I think that we have another one from Alex, Tom.
Yes, we do. And Chess says, can I get that in writing, please?
Oh.
Sure, we can send you a copy, I guess. Eleanor can sign it. But Alex, actually, he asks, what about mature, larger businesses? Is fractional leadership applicable, and are there opportunities with those?
Yes, absolutely, it's applicable, but different type of role and different day-to-day for that fractional person. So in a smaller business, the fractional person might be working on a particular project, for example. They might be helping, bring on board new partners, for example. Like if it's a smaller organization that has got their partner program, they're now looking to execute and generate revenue. That person might be, looking for acquiring, onboarding, managing new partners, like real partner management day to day. As the organization grows, they may have some partner managers that are executing really well, but those people need coaching, they need guidance, they need leadership, they need like strategy, and they need someone a lot more senior that's going to work with the C-suite. And that's where a more senior fractional partnerships professional would come in and take more of a strategic leadership role.
Makes a lot of sense. I love because we are getting ahead of all the questions that we had on the subtopics, but maybe we can jump straight into the next one so that we cover the other stuff that we had. So Tom, hit it off. So what's kind of like the best way from your experience, Eleanor, to structure that engagement to get the maximum value from those fractional partnerships professionals?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to that question around expectations. Like, what do you want to see? What does success look like for you with this engagement? It's not about thinking, oh yeah, we want to focus on partnerships, let's just get someone in part-time because it's cheaper and see how it goes. Like that's going to be really difficult to see the return on. So really setting expectations of what does success look like for you within this. How long do you want to bring someone on board for, and what do you want to see at which milestones? Have you agreed on those things together? What is that check-in going to look like? And then at which point would you then want to move into a full-time hire in the future? You can either set that up front or set it further down the line, but it's really around setting expectations and understanding what you're expecting it to deliver.
Yeah, definitely. And I have another kind of like follow-up, which probably would be kind of like, what's your suggestion to professionals that, because you mentioned that fractional professionals should be treated as part of the team, right? But how can you actually achieve that from your experience?
This honestly, I found this tough for myself because you absolutely want to feel like part of a team, and any organization should be including their fractional people as part of the team as well, because they're working very cross-functionally, especially in partnerships. It is the most cross-functional role that any company can have. They are working with every single person, and therefore including them in things like all hands and socials, if possible. The fractional person may decide or not that they want to attend those things, but definitely core company meetings, offsites, etc. Like, if you can get your fractional person in those and attending those, it's amazing, because they will find out so much that is important to the partnership strategy. You know, if those things are missed, I've definitely had engagements before where I've been working with the partner, and they've said, well, what's your marketing strategy, or what's your strategy to work in this particular region? Like, I saw an announcement that you're going to be launching in this particular region. What's the plan there? Can we work with you in that region? And I hadn't been aware of those things because I wasn't included in that company all hands, and where those announcements were made, I didn't necessarily see them, because the client at the time, and this was a fault of mine, saw me as just managing partnerships. But in order to manage partnerships well, that person has to understand everything that is going on in the organization that could then impact partners. So it might not be possible for them to attend absolutely everything, but including them in key internal meetings, super important. And then if you have got them as on a long-term engagement, get them into a social, get them to, spend time with your sales teams and things like that, because it's all about building internal relationships as well as relationships with partners.
I think that's critical. I mean, partnerships, it's about people. So you need to actually engage with all of them and make sure that you're part of the core team, or at least treat it as part of the team, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what you're looking for. So beautiful, well done. I don't know if we have any other questions on this topic, Tom, or we can jump to
No, I don't
the
see
next
any.
one.
I don't see any questions here.
Okay,
Uh,
pretty
Feel
clear.
free. Yeah, but if anyone has a question, feel free to,
Amazing.
write it
Let's
in the
jump on
chat.
the next one then. So this one's really interesting as well. Why do high growth startups or scale ups often benefit more or most from fractional partnerships supports?
Typically, fractional people can come in and kind of hit the ground running, per se. and they have a very, very clear scope of what they're doing. If not, then it's not been set up correctly. And these people can actually start to generate revenue super quickly. If they are full-time within an organization, the expectation is that they're going to end up doing a lot more that's outside of their role. It just happens, whether we like it or not. Anyone that comes into organizations ends up doing a ton of stuff that isn't their role. Whereas a fractional person, they come in, not only are they an expert in what they do and very, very specialist, and they've been brought in for a very particular purpose, they can just run with the job that they have been given and execute really, really quickly. So that's one of the benefits. Obviously, you're getting expertise at a fraction of the cost as well. Like, fractional is the word for a reason. Not only is it fractional in time, it's also fractional in cost. So this person that you're bringing on board, while they might be, an expensive day rate or project rate or an hourly rate based on how they charge, that is a lot lower risk for an organization and a lot lower cost for an organization. So it's a great way to test things out and see if it's working for you without making such a huge commitment to a 6-figure full-time hire that any CEO will know comes with a load of other commitments on insurance, on benefits, on tech equipment, on all of the things. This fractional person can come in, start generating revenue quickly without any of those commitments and any of that risk.
Yeah, certainly. And also the as you mentioned, kind of like the experience. I mean, we have the privilege of having kind of like a lot of partners that we talk with that they actually are fractional partnership leaders, and it's amazing the experience that they bring, and having that at a fractional of the cost. It's just like everyone should actually try to get them on board as well. I mean, from your experience, Eleanor, do you think that that's well, of course you provide these services and all that, but I mean, even in terms of not only the cost but the experience, because getting someone seasoned, it's probably way better than having someone that is just starting, right?
Yeah, and I also think that it's not just the experience they bring on day one, it's the experience that they bring on an ongoing basis, because 9 times out of 10, they'll also be working with other clients. Now, as long as they're not competing clients, that person is going to be learning. Like, I learn so much quicker as a partnerships professional now, and I grow in my expertise so much quicker now than I did when I was full-time in one company, because I'm working with several companies at once, and I'm seeing how different companies move, how they work with their partners, how their partners are working in different regions. Like, I am accelerating my expertise as a partnership professional, and week to week, I have way more growth in that than I ever did as a full-time. So yes, I'm bringing a ton of expertise on day one, but actually on an ongoing basis, that expertise is accelerated by working with multiple businesses who all have multiple partners across multiple regions at the same time.
That's super interesting. I mean, like learning from seeing out how others or how actually they are doing it and what works, what doesn't. I think that that's key. That's key. So yeah, that's super interesting. I don't know if we have any questions on this topic,
No, our
Tom.
audience is shy. They're not
They're
asking any
shy,
more questions.
or
Yeah.
they are in Spain and they don't have power. But no,
Oh, come on. Spain has power now, and Portugal too.
just joking. Yeah, Eva, it's the proof of that. She has power.
Yeah, and Alex.
And Alex as well. Yeah, true, true, true. Okay, so any here it's kind of like an open question to you, Eleanor, but any recommendations on professionals that want to jump on the wagon of being a fractional partnership leader?
And that's an interesting question. I would say don't forget to keep learning. Yeah, I think there's a couple of parts to this. Like, once you're in, don't forget to keep learning. Make sure that you're part of a community. Get part of, any partnerships community that's out there. There's a couple of main ones, obviously, and I'm not here to promote. So go and search the networks out there that have a ton of other partnerships professionals in that you can continue learning from. It's hard to start anything. I think a lot of the fractional people that I see today have maybe come out of an organization and found themselves between jobs and thought, okay, let me give this a go. And really make a decision if that's what you want to do for yourself. Like, it's an amazing opportunity to be able to be self-employed and work with multiple companies. It's hard. Like, it's not But it's not an easy thing. I'm not going to say to anyone like, go and quit your jobs and start Fractional, because it's really hard. Like being self-employed or running a company is not an easy thing to do. For me, it's been 100% worth it. I absolutely love it. It was an intentional choice to jump into it. So really think about if this is something that you want for your career, and then once you're in it, keep going. Like Alex said, keep learning, network as much as you can with the people around you. Like ask people for help. You know, I never mind when people call me and ask for advice on what it is like, because there's, you know, I'll always share. I'm not someone that like hides all of the information about how I set things up or how I, you know, price or how I go to clients or whatever. Like there are so many companies in the world, very few fractional partnerships people in the grand scheme of things. Like there is an opportunity for us to work together, to work in partnership with one another, and continue to grow and learn from one another. So yeah.
That was a beautiful answer. So thanks for sharing that. And I completely agree. I mean, shout out also to there are great communities out there. I mean, I can think about one right now, which is the Bond Partnerships community. Eva, shout out to that community. There are a lot of we are in that community as well, and it's great because a lot of people learn from each other, and we share a lot of insights. And as you said, Eleanor, you're not alone. I mean, sometimes it feels lonely, right? Like partnership feels lonely, but you're not alone. So that I think that that's great piece of advice. My last question to you, because I think that this is also well, I don't know if you know, but you're the first woman as a guest in our sessions, and we are super proud of that.
Very happy about it. Yeah.
But one thing, because I've been speaking with a lot, we meet with a lot of partnership leaders, and let me tell you, there aren't many women out there that are in leadership roles. So I know that you have a bit kind of like thought on that. So I would love for to hear your thoughts and how we can change that.
Yeah, I think it's it's a difficult one to answer because, you know, I think if women want to go into leadership, like absolutely, like, you know, get the people around you, mobilize the people around you to support you to get into those leadership positions. Like, don't just ask women for help, ask men for help as well. Like, there are lots of people around you that can support you, and help you to move into the roles that you want for yourself. But also, don't feel the pressure to do it if you don't want to. Like, I want women in leadership, like as much as anyone. Like, I want to see more women in leadership for sure. And I think that we should make it more accessible for women as well to go into those roles and not feel completely exhausted all the time by the responsibilities that they have outside of work as well. But also don't feel the pressure to do that. Like for some people, there isn't this direct ladder to leadership. Some people don't want to be a chief partnerships officer. They want to, you know, get to a position where they're happy, they're thriving, they're learning, they're growing, and, you know, they don't want to take on board more responsibility. So that's totally okay too. Like, I think there is almost a lot of pressure to get to a certain point, and it's okay if you don't want to do that. And I really had to learn that for myself, because I was constantly striving, constantly wanting to achieve more when I was in a corporate environment. Like, I need to get as senior as possible. I need to be in a leadership position. And I'd probably still be there if I was in a corporate environment, for sure. And I think absolutely I want more women there. I want more people to support women to get there. I want to make it more accessible, more possible to be in those roles and navigate everything else that we have going on in life. But also, let's not pressure people to do things if they don't want to do them.
I
Exactly. It's
completely
very
agree
well
with you,
said.
Eleanor. Great answer, and I think it's a great piece of advice as well. Like if you really want it, you can get it, but do not pressure yourself or put pressure on yourself if you really don't want that. So I think that that's a great way to put it. Cool. I think that well, they've shared also the community in the chat, so that's great. And again, you'll get the recording of this. So if you want to have your questions answered, please join live. I think that it's a lot of value that you get from our guest. And Eleanor, it's been a real pleasure to have you. Thanks
Exactly.
for doing this, for taking the time. And anyone that wants to, she already mentioned it, but if you want advice or help with anything, please reach out to Eleanor. And if you want fractional leaderships in partnerships, you can actually hire them also from Branchworks as well. So, any final thoughts before we leave and we wrap it up?
No, just thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, and thanks everyone for joining. And please stay tuned for the next ones coming. And thanks for joining.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.